And before we show the clip from Kismet, Stuart Hodes has a couple of stories.
I was a Martha Graham dancer, so I guess I was a little surprised when I got a call from George Martin. Oh, being a Martha Graham dancer, you're mostly out of work. and so I managed, in between Graham's performances, I squeezed in, it's either 14 or 15 Broadway shows. So I got the call from George Martin, and he said, come and see Kismet. And I went to see it, and he said, that name Jack Dodds was leaving, and would I replace him? And which was a shock, because usually you audition for a replacement. I learned from George that Jack, knowing there were no Cole-trained dancers in New York, thought, well, he's Martha Graham trained. Maybe he'll probably be able to do it. Well, the thing about Cole technique and Graham techniques, they're both earthy and they're both powerful, but they could not be more different. Cole is all articulated and everything's broken into coordinated, marvelous moves, but Graham technique, it's like your body has one muscle, and that muscle goes bang, and it's completely different. So I didn't know that at the time, and George said to me, well, everybody's on a 6-week notice, so you'll have 4 weeks to learn the dances. I said, well, how many dances are there? He says, well, there's 3. One's just a crossover, and one's just an opening. It's about 3 minutes of choreography. But 3 minutes of choreography in 4 weeks, I'm a quick study. What's the matter with this? He showed me, the first rehearsal, he showed me the first 4 counts. There were about 11 movements there, and all exactly as, first thing he had to do was show me how to hold my hands. And that took, well, it wasn't too long, but I've asked other people, do that, and they don't do it. You know, it's very simple. And of course, there was other mudras too. But I remember that first combination because it took him 2 hours to teach me. And I thought, 2 hours for 8 counts, maybe I need more than 4 weeks. I did finally learn the show. I danced it with Ronald Field, another marvelous man. I miss him. And then one day, about 4 weeks into the run that I was actually on stage, the stage manager said, Jack Cole's in the house tonight. So, of course, you're turned on. And we did our dances. The thing about it is we're in the opening number, a crossover, and then we did our big number, Not Since Nineveh. And then we had most of the first act and the entire second act to just wait around. So all that time, Ronnie and I say, well, what's going to happen? What's he like? Ronnie knew him. And Ronnie says, oh, don't worry, he'll probably fire me. And so finally the show was over, and we're changing. We'd had our bows, and the door opened, and a head poked in. And he said, Mr. Cole. And I popped to attention. And he said, looking at me, it was earnest, not very Indian. We'll fix it tomorrow. And then we had a rehearsal. So then I worked with Kismet, and I couldn't tour with it because I was going around the world with Martha Graham. And kind of the end of that story is that I is in Israel, and I read in the Times that they were having an audition for another Jack Cole show. And I don't know how I reached George Martin. Maybe it was a phone call, maybe it was a cable. And I got back, you have job, report to rehearsal. And that's when I learned Jack Cole technique, because just as Jemsy said, you watched every movie made. There was a picture in Dance magazine of 3 men standing with their hands on their, standing in a position of dancing, no, and their hands on their head. Now, I remember the moment. Jack, it wasn't a move that Jack did. He just was wiping his sweat. And so everybody did the same thing. That's all. Thank you.
And you should end by your trip to India.
What?
End with your trip to India.
Oh, one very interesting point is I made that trip to India with a lot of Eastern Asian countries, and I saw Bharatanatyam and all of the dance forms in their native habitat, and they were showing us the best dancers in India. And that's when I realized how incredibly accurate Jack's movement was. I mean, he set it into a different context. He used different music and his own rhythms, or I think they were African rhythms he used. And, but the moves were simply perfect, because I saw some Indian dancers told that, to me, these are the greats, because we were being, you know, they showed us their best. I don't think they were better than dancers like Beatrice Kraft or Neil Adams or people who dance with Jack, not to mention the greats who dance with Jack, some of which are here. That's my story.
Thank you. So now we'll see the clip, Nineveh from Kismet.